Today we are going to tune into body intelligence. We are as a culture a very thinking culture. There is a lot of emphasis on the knowledge that we can gather and process and computate and tabulate all up here. But there is just a remarkable amount of information that we can gain through our body, from the body intelligence. That is really overlooked or sort of inaccessible as so many of us live the way we do. And so today's tuning is to really focus on establishing the mind-body connection with a real emphasis on the intelligence that the body has access and can give us. All right, I'm having a really hard time getting this initial energy point activated. It's interesting that we're tuning towards body intelligence today, and to sort of drop down into our body is kind of an act of grounding, and I'm having a really hard time getting the energy body grounded here. So everybody breathe. I mean, the first way to sort of tap into your body is to take a breath, and whether you start with an inhale or start with a nice big exhale, breath is one of the best ways to just ignite that relationship from out of the brain and down into the body that we're inhabiting. Okay, that's kind of an anemic sounding tone. It's like there's a real resistance to wanting to be in the body, or to even have a relation, to even know that you have a body, much less fully be in it. Okay. Okay, so whatever shape your body is in, be it sort of superficial shape or health shape, there we go. Whatever shape it's in, it's perfect, okay? You're perfect just the way you are. Because whatever body you have, it's yours. And it's a gift. We all have brains and we all have bodies. And your body is your own. And it's a special relationship. And even if there's things you'd like to shift about your body, either the way it looks or the way it feels, your body is yours. And just right now, take a nice big full breath into it, into your body, and just say, thanks for coming on this ride with me. Thanks for being here. I couldn't be here without you. And let's just see, let's just see what we can do. So when we're born, our heads represent 1/3 of our body mass. But by the time the average adult reaches maturity, our head is between 1/7 and 1/8 our body mass. So if you think about it, even though, you know, our eyes and our ears and stuff are in fact located on our head, 7/8 of the apparatus that we have for detecting our environment, 7/8 of it is the body, and only 1/8 of it is the head. So trying to think your way through this life, I mean, you can do it. People do it all the time. But it's at the expense of 7/8 of this information gathering and intelligence holding meat suit that we're put into to live these lives in. And wouldn't it be great if you could have all access to all the information available to you? There we go. We're finally starting to open up a little bit. Gosh, probably 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit more, I walked in on a really cold morning to a yoga class. And the teacher said very kind of matter-of-factly, she was sort of urging everyone in the class to be kind to their bodies and be kind with themselves and to warm up slowly because it was a really cold morning out. And she said really matter-of-factly, the body can't lie. If you find that you're kind of tight and constricted and whatever because you've been trying to stay warm, just notice that and go slow with it. And I really liked that phrase, the body can't lie. Because what for all the intelligence that our brain has, it can really create stories that are 100% fiction. But the body really can't give you fiction. It can only say, there we go, it can only send messages about what is. It doesn't do well, it can't really craft what might be. It can only give you information about what is. And I really appreciated her words that morning, and I've thought about it many, many, many times since I heard it that day. And I've realized how profoundly true that is. Okay, we're finally connected here. All right, thanks for arriving. Thanks for arriving into your body. Now I'm going to come up and do the top portion. And I feel like so many of the time, when our body's trying to, so much of the time, when our body's trying to tell us something, it's almost as if we tell our body it's lying, even though it's incapable of lying to us. It's sort of like, wow, I'm really tired, or wow, I really hurt, your body might say. And we say, hush, hush, body, I don't want to hear that right now. I don't want to hear that story. Except it's not a story, it's what is. And it's really important to be open and non-judgmental to any messages, any information you might be getting from your body. Because the body's not trying to gum up the works. It's trying to let you know this current state of affairs. And so, yeah, the word override. It's like we try and override the messages from the body rather than embracing them as really pertinent, salient information, which is the only thing that they can be, is pertinent information. There we go. So what if you listened? You know, what if we didn't judge and just took all incoming messages at face value? The analogy that kind of dropped in is when you're on a flight and like the pilot comes on, or one of the flight attendants comes on and says, you know, we're about to hit some patchy air, or we're flying over a front, so it might be a little rough. And basically, these are the conditions that we're about to be in, or that we are in, and so manage it accordingly. And in that way, that really mirrors the information that our body gives us. I'm really tired. I'm feeling low on fuel. I'm feeling low on nutrients. I might be having inflammation or an infection. Will you please see to me? And what we try to do is hush it up rather than, there we go, rather than really addressing this. So not all the times, but oftentimes we try to sort of ignore, diminish the information rather than quickly embracing it and dealing with it. And the other thing, as I have sort of tapped in and started listening more and more to my own body, one of the things that I really notice is that, you know, it's interesting, the stomach so far is really the stomach and the heart and lungs so far are sort of the thickest energy, so we'll be working with that in this tuning. One of the things that I've really appreciated in my growing practice of listening to my own body is how sort of straightforward and forthright and literal the messages are. For instance, I mean, there are the cases of psychosomatic illnesses, which, I mean, absolutely need to be considered, but so often when something is sore, something is hurting, it's telling you exactly what's going on. So if we try to medicate it or hush up the messaging, oftentimes it's something really quick and literal and pretty straightforward that would address the problem, alleviate the problem, and sort of get us back up and running. Again, in the mental culture we live in, so many things have to be figured out, whereas so often the body doesn't really have to be figured out. If your stomach feels bad, there's probably something going on in your stomach. You know, if your bowel movements and your digestive system is off, there's probably something going on in your bowels. If your head and ears are hurting, or if you have a lot of sinus congestion, there's probably something going on in your sinuses. Like, you know, it doesn't really lead you astray too much. And yet, it's as if we so often want to blow past the yield signs that our body offers us. wow, I tell you, the collective field just really in the midsection, it's really thick here. The energy is really dense. It feels like inflammation. It feels like kind of gummy, non-beneficial gut bacteria, maybe. Really sluggish GI activity. Okay, so for all those who wind up watching this video to whom that applies, it's not about having the perfect diet, okay? You don't have to go to start an 100% raw, vegan, organic diet tomorrow. No. The other thing about the body, okay, so not only is it forthright and pretty literal and fairly simplistic in its asks of us, the other thing is that it responds to just a smidge, okay? Just a smidge. If you think, okay, well, yeah, I have had some mucus, I've had some sinus, the change of the seasons has sort of brought about some up in my head, but I don't really know what to do. I don't, I can't afford to get my vents cleaned. I don't know if it's the air quality in my home, blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you're having mucus, one of the first things that you can try is just drink one more glass of water a day, or just one more gulp of water when you drink water. It just helps irrigate and flush and sort of dissipate any problem that you may be having. Just little things like that. It's not like, oh, well, I know I should get more rest and I don't know how I'm going to get 8 hours. Try 10 minutes, try 10 minutes every day for a week. Try 10 minutes more every day for a month. You don't have to go from getting 3.5 hours to suddenly the very next day getting 8 hours of sleep. No, just the body responds to the slightest incremental change, and it'll respond with a thank you. And that's all it really needs. Whew, this is thick right here, y'all. Okay, what can we do to... Okay. Why don't we all just thank our bodies? Everybody just say, thank you. Thank you, body, for being on this ride with me. Thank you, body, for supplying me the ears that I'm listening to this video with. And thank you with the eyes that I'm watching this video with. And thanks for being along on this ride with me. Because you're really partners. It's not like mastermind and foe. We're not Superman and Lex Luthor in one body. We're the Wonder Twins. The mind and the body go together. And when they really work in tandem, things just get so much more delightful and fun. Whew. All right, it's really thick on this side too. Okay, this side is feeling, all right, so, whew, wow, this really feels like sugar. Okay, so for all the sugar users and abusers out there, and when I say sugar, I mean that in the broadest sense of the term, from refined sugar like Twizzlers and candy and ice cream, to sugars in the form of breads and carbs, to sugars in the form of alcohol, Sugars. Okay, so I don't have the hate on for sugar. The thing about sugar is that you have to know what you're dealing with. Sugar is a drug. And just like so many drugs, they can be medicine or they can be poison. And there are wonderful natural sugars, like there are very few people who can't eat fruit, who can't eat honey and these kinds of things, but most people can, and that's a huge benefit to the body. But sugars, when you use sugar in the form of some sort of processed food or beverage, don't beat yourself up about it. That's not the point. It's when you engage in using sugar, know what you're doing. Listen to your body before and after. If it spikes up in blood sugar and energy and then drops down and you feel really, really poorly, the next time you might moderate that sugar hit so that you don't spike and then drop. The other thing about sugar is when we're ignoring messages from the body, we often crave sugar. Not because, I read once that if you're kind of running low on your protein intake, you will have a craving for sugar because what your body is asking for is energy. And protein is a nice slow burn energy form, but it takes a little bit more to metabolize, whereas sugar is a nice quick burn and it's kind of ready, accessible energy. So if you're running low, like if you've been ignoring that you're tired, or that your nutrition hasn't been up to snuff lately, and if you find that you feel like you want to dive into a bowl of sugar in some sort of a way, check in and ask your body, do I in fact just need a glass of water and a rest? Would I do better to eat some sort of lean protein so that I can have sustained energy rather than this spike and valley that sugar is going to bring about? And just be really mindful with sugar. It's not about judging sugar or to hold some ideal of, I'm never going to eat sugar again. I think that's fairly unrealistic. Honestly, not a personal goal of mine. Love me some sugar. And when I embark with sugar, I do so mindfully because I know what it is. Wow, there's a lot of heavy. It's funny how much is coming up about food. Like, it's so interesting when I landed on the topic to film today, I was really thinking about all the intelligence that our body has, that it truly is this giant walking brain as opposed to this little teeny brain that we have cradled up here. But what's coming up in the collective about body, it's just all about food. You know, I mean, which makes sense. Food certainly powers our body. It's the fuel that we run on. But the intelligence of the body can give us so much more than just be a data computation of what we've eaten. Wow, we are there's so much judgment about food. Okay, for everybody watching this video, please, whatever position you're in, just try and give your body a hug and maybe kind of rock a little bit. like really as if you could hug a small child, yourself as a small child, and kind of hold and rock yourself. I mean, all the muscles, all the electrical impulse, I mean, all the information that's coded even on the surface of one cell. And we have what, 6 trillion cells in our body, something like that. I mean, again, on the one hand, food is the fuel, but there's so much more information than just a diet journal going on in our bodies. Kind of along with the whole kid analogy thing, the other, like, what if as you laid down, as you went to sleep tonight, if you ask your body to tell you a bedtime story, or maybe after dinner, if you're sort of a TV watcher or a Netflix watcher or whatever, what if you, just as you sat down, just before you turned on whatever narrative you're going to watch or listen to, what if you checked in and said, what narrative is coming from this space as opposed to on the screen? I think it would tell you more than just what you ate today or yesterday. Wow, the fork is actually wanting to be pushed back. All right, I'm going to stand right here. Let me switch frequencies. The sort of pushback here is again, it's this kind of feeling of self-recrimination, like I haven't listened in so long, I don't know if I can listen now. Wow, it's almost making me dizzy. The push is so hard. Kind of like when you pick a really young child up from, say, their first friend birthday party, and you say, oh, you know, how was it? And they're like, and no, and blah, 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 and they just go on and tell you everything that happened and what all happened and who did what and da 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 da. It's like this whole barrage of why not blah 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 blah. It's almost as if we're afraid to start a conversation with our body, for fear that we're just going to get overwhelmed by a story held off too long. Okay, so here's the thing. So wherever you are, your body is just exactly right there with you. So it's not going to overwhelm you. You got this. It's not going to overwhelm you because it's just right there with you. Y'all are both in the same moment together. You don't have to be afraid. It will not overrun you because it's there as your partner. Wonder twin, right? It's right there with you. There we go. It's not a runaway Mustang horse that's going to drag you over the prairie for 400 miles before it stops. It's not like that. It's just, if initially you feel like it's giving you a lot of messaging, just keep breathing and keep listening, and soon enough it will start to wean off a little and slow down. And that just means that it was the perfect time to tune in and listen. There we go. Whew, okay. Be not afraid. Be not afraid of the body. It is your buddy. Oh, the body buddy. There we go. And now I'm getting into a real thick layer of exhaustion. Y'all, the push, okay? The push through exhaustion, the power through, the I gotta do it anyway, this has to be done. I mean, so often in my work career, I have been in scenarios when you really do kind of have to keep going, even when you're tired. But that has become our unquestioned default. And while there are times when, in fact, you've got to dig deep and pull it on out and keep going, even when you know you're tired, remember to ask if there's even an option, or don't just have that as your set default. Know that while you may really have to power through this time, that there will be another time when you could ease off, when it's not mandatory that you keep going. And when it's a non-critical, non-mandatory time, take the pause, take the rest. Say no. Say, I'll get back to you. Say, I have to go now. I'm not available to that. Let yourself rest. Even if it's not resting in the bed, maybe you can't make it home, you know, put off that meeting, tell a colleague you'll get with them later, and just even sit down in your office for just a minute, whatever it is. Sit in your car, take that 2-minute rest and breathe moment before you go in and run your next errand or whatever it is. Be really ruthless in asking, do I think I have to, or do I really have to? That can make such a big incremental change to the body. Even if you ask the question, like how I said earlier, how the body responds to even the smallest increment. You don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to get it 100% right off the bat. It's just asking, and then even if incrementally you can give yourself a little bit of ease, a little bit of rest, it goes such a long way. It really can reset the whole rest of your day. There we go. Okay. All right, before I wrap up the field, I'm gonna column up with the 417 to just really strengthen the now and going forward, that you can check in, you can tune in. There we go. Whew. You can really listen. Your body's not going to tell you a fib. It's not going to tell you anything that isn't pertinent. And it's here to be your buddy. It's right here with you to get through all of these amazing days of your life. All right, so that was this week's tuning on body intelligence. I hope you start to tune in and enjoy the ride with the vehicle that you're